Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Federico Talks Watches. Today I'm answering some of your questions like what are some high horology watches and movements that you can get for bargain basement prices? And what are some of the most catastrophic mistakes made by watch brands? All that and more in today's episode. Now, of course, before we get started, customary wristwatch check. Today I'm wearing my Breitling Chronomat Evolution. I don't wear this very often. It's one of the oldest watches in my collection. It's time for a new strap. But I saw it in the watch box today and I figured, let's pull it out for a spin. And also, guys, don't forget to check out delraywatch.com. We got some pretty cool inventory in stock, including this unique one-of-one Gerald Genta Jeffica perpetual calendar chronograph made specifically for Prince Abdul Hakim of Brunei. That is right, a one-of-one watch made for Prince Abdul Hakim, one of the most famous watch collectors on earth. And this example is a beauty. One version of this sold at auction. He also had a perpetual calendar without the chrono that sold a couple of years ago. This is the chrono version as well. And as I said, you're not going to find this anywhere else. We also got in a Tudor Black Bay 41 blue dial, just serviced by Tudor, lowest price in the country, of course, and a Patek Philippe Calatrava 5000G micro rotor. This neo vintage example is an absolute beauty. Box papers, and of course, lowest one in the country. All that and way more at delraywatch.com, link in the description below. So anyway, guys, these are the questions you asked me on my Instagram account at Federico Talks Watches. By this point, you should know how it works. A few times a month, a Q&A picture pops up on my Instagram account. When you see it, you can ask a you can ask a question. When I get enough questions, I take down the picture. Please do not DM me. I do not check them. So in no particular order, we start with Thompson Corpus. And he says, what is the most catastrophic mistake a major brand has made? Well, this is a hard question, especially off the top of my head. A lot of brands have made some pretty catastrophic mistakes, but I would say the biggest that stands out to me is the Zenith designs in the late 90s. During the Thierry Nataf era, they made some of the ugliest watches known to man. They strayed entirely away from their classic designs and made these like neo-gothic, awful, futuristic dive watches that sold like crap. In fact, Zenith pretty much almost went out of business until they got brought back and they started remaking older designs. They started coming out with vintage reissues, and now Zenith is as strong as they've ever been. But for a handful of years there, almost felt like Zenith barely existed anymore. They were on the cusp. Rafa725, Sector Dial Face-Off, the JLC Master Control Sector Dial Omega CK859, and the Patek Philippe Calatrava. Which is the best bang for the buck? Well, I own the Patek Philippe Calatrava Sector Dial myself. That is probably worth somewhere in the mid-20,000 range. So the best bang for the buck is between the Omega and the JLC. I'm going to say the Omega because it's still relatively easily available. It did sell out brand new, but you can still find them pre-owned. The JLC you can still find pre-owned as well, but prices are climbing. And they made way less of them, and this was years ago at this point. So I'm going to say the Omega CK859 is the best bang per buck sector dial out of these three easily in the current market. WatchFan427, how big is the market for De Bethune? Is it overhyped only by Watchbox, or is it really sought after by the general watch market? This is a great question because some of you people may know some of the background, may not. I'm going to say this is based on my opinion, but it's definitely overhyped by Watchbox. I mean, Watchbox owns De Bethune, so of course it's hyped by Watchbox. Watchbox does this all the time. They pick a brand, they put their resources behind it, and they make it go crazy. They did it with FP Journe. Now, while Watchbox doesn't own FP Journe, there was some dealings there, and they had the biggest stock of FP Journe, and they inflated the prices for the rest of us. Now, Watchbox owns De Bethune. Now, to clarify, De Bethune's a great brand, an independent brand, a very cool brand, a brand that does have organic kind of demand in the market, which is why Watchbox bought it. But this sky-high demand is total bullshit. It's the inflation by Watchbox. They own the brand, they set the prices, they decide where the watches go, they decide where to put the video. I mean, cool watch brand with, I'm sure, some real demand, but entirely manipulated by the machine that is Watchbox. Or I don't know about manipulated, but free market. I mean, they're definitely putting their weight behind it. That's probably a better way of saying it. Captain Tobe. InHouse Movements, real deal or marketing? InHouse Movements are the real deal, but they're also definitely marketing. I mean, the InHouse Movement craze started in the early 2010s because watch brands got carried away with charging like 10, 20 grand for ETA movements. Frank Mueller, IWC. And so people, they got smart with the internet, they educated themselves. So all of a sudden, you weren't a real watch brand if you didn't have an in-house movement. Now, I understand that. You know, if you're paying top dollar for something, you want something unique that is made by the brand. Unfortunately, it also goes the other way. Too many people put a lot of stock in in-house movements, when honestly, a lot of them are total shit. They don't work, they perform worse than the ETA, or a lot of them are just based on ETA architecture with a few things changed. So, yeah, a lot of in-house movements are the real deal, but just because something's in-house doesn't mean it's better than a well-decorated or modified ETA. It doesn't at all. So, I would say for all those people saying, oh, that's just an ETA, well, that's crap, because that in-house movement on that watch could be a total turd, and you just like it because it's in-house. I'm an in-house fan, I really am. However, not all in-houses are created equal, and ETA is still a damn great movement. And also, not all ETAs are created equal. Just because a 2824 costs, $100 and something dollars, doesn't mean all qualities are the same. There's different grades, different decorations, different modifications you can do to it, all which dictates price. Mysore Ashwin. I love your work, especially the nuggets of information embedded in your talks. Thank you, brother. What are some examples of amazing / high-grade movements in affordable watches or watches at affordable prices? This is also pretty easy for me. I'm going to go back to a brand we already spoke about, Zenith. Zenith from the early 90s, before they got super ugly, and the super ugly phase are all very good deals. I mean, they're El Primero movements. This is one of the highest grade column wheel chronographs ever made. Very intricate, very beautiful, functions extremely well. It was used in the Rolex Daytona. It was used by many, many brands. And can you believe you can pick up an El Primero chronograph for under $2,000? Under $2,000. It depends on the shape, depends on the era, but there's some El Primeros that are under $2,000. That's less than a Longines or a Tag Heuer. So I think if you're willing to go with a quirky design, it doesn't have to be that late 90s stuff. It can be the early 90s stuff, which looks a little aged, but certainly not really out there. You get one of the most iconic high horology movements for under $2,000. That is pretty hard to beat. Anyway, guys, that's it for today. Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Really does help. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any more content. And of course, I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.